5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
This is the 5 on Film podcast.
Hello and welcome to 5 on Film, podcast where we try and break down the top 5 in the world of film. And it's our first show of 2022. Happy New Year for everybody. And I hope you've all had a great festive period and a very good life day. Joining us this week are our regulars, Chris, John,
hello,
Matt,
Happy New Year, guys.
and running out of the panel this week, our guest is, I'm keeping it in the family, it's my brother-in-law, it's Alex. Welcome, thank you for joining us.
hello. Thank you for having me.
Nice one. Now we're recording this on Friday the 7th of Jan. So I just wanted to mention, I thought I'd be remiss not the passing of a film icon today. Sidney Poitier, the first black actor to ever win the Best Actor Oscar at the Academy Awards. He died at the age of 94 today. So a legend in Hollywood, and just condolences to friends and family. A legend that will be missed.
Can I put my hands up on that and say as well?
Of course.
Sorry to interrupt. This is unusual, interrupting on the title sequence. But Peter Bogdanovich, I don't know if you know Pete Bogdanovich. He was a director. He directed a couple of Oscar-nominated films. He also passed away a couple of days ago. He's one of my favourite film directors. Yeah. If anyone has seen Paper Moon with, oh gosh, I forget his name now. It'll come back to me at some point. But anyway, go on. That was another one. That was, unfortunately, New Year's brought some sadly, unfortunate deaths.
Yes. And Betty White as well passed away.
Yes.
Well, and an icon at nearly 100. So before we go introducing this week's topic, John, can you tell us how the show works?
Yes. Okay. We have 3 rounds. We have nomination, we have elimination, and we have ranking. First, we're each going to nominate a film we believe deserves to be in the top 5 and where it should be there. If 2 or more of the panelists agree, it makes our initial list, and then we carry on till we hopefully have 7 films. Once we have our 7, we eliminate, and here we decide on 2 films to remove, leaving us with our top 5. And finally, we rank, where we will decide on the definitive order of those 5 films. If anyone would like to get in touch with us, if anyone would like to have a chat, we are at all the socials, which are at 5 on Film, 5 on Film podcast. That's also our email address at gmail.com. So
nice
back
one.
to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, John. Yeah. So this week's topic was chosen by our guests. So Alex, what's our topic and why did we pick this week's topic?
Okay. So I've chosen the topic of sci-fi films that are on the more realistic end of the spectrum. So things that are scientifically possible but haven't happened, or you feel could be possible in the not too distant future. So you could call it science fiction, if you will. Reason why?
Nice.
Well, you asked me to be a guest. You asked me to come up with a topic, and without giving too much thought, I just threw some words out. But on thinking back, I've always enjoyed sci-fi films, and I've always enjoyed science itself. I like films that you can learn from, or that will get your grey matter ticking over, really start you thinking about something. So speaking of grey, the genre that I've chosen is particularly grey in itself. It's not a topic as finite as films directed by Spielberg, for example. The boundaries of what is science fiction and what is too outlandish to fit are debatable, and I thought that would add an extra element to the decision-making process. So that's what we're doing, and that's why we're doing it. And I'm sorry if I've caused a bit of struggle this week coming up with a list.
No, it's always fun. So I'm going to stay with you, Al, because you're our guest. We
Yeah.
try and do that each week. So what do you think is the first film that deserves to be on this list?
Okay, so the first one I'm going to nominate is the 2014 Christopher Nolan film Interstellar. Now, I assume most of you have probably seen it. It stars Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon, Jessica Chastain, Michael Caine, John Lithgow, and a relatively young Timothy Chalamet. So if for those listening that haven't seen it, brief synopsis, the world's dying, crops are failing year on year, and a former NASA pilot come farmer stumbles across a secret base where they're planning to evacuate Earth. Now, given his history, he gets volunteered to lead a follow-up exploratory mission to a distant galaxy using a mysterious wormhole near Saturn. Now, the reasons I like this film and I feel it fits the brief of science fiction, the sort of the very opening scenes of the film are set in a sort of interviewee documentary style. That really starts you thinking, well, actually, what am I watching here? Is this fiction or not? It certainly pushes the boundaries of current scientific understanding and possibility, but I think the storyline plays really well to that. It's the kind of the storyline of we don't know this yet. For example, I alluded to earlier how the farmer stumbles across the base, but he's actually led there through some coordinates that have been triggered through dust, gravitational waves that have triggered that. And it comes out that it's actually him talking to himself and giving himself the guidance there. And I love that sort of cyclical aspect to the film. I think the thing that I love most about the film, though, is the score. It's a Hans Zimmer score, and I'll be honest, I'd probably put it as my favourite piece of film music ever, regardless of genre. It's intense, it's terrifying, but it's also sort of euphoric at the same time. And it's also quite clever. It's a wildly known fact that whilst they're on that water planet in Interstellar where gravity affects time, each of the ticks in the score in the background is at 1.25 seconds, which is actually 1 day back on Earth. So I really like how they've used the music there with the science and the storyline.
Nice.
I think what makes it a really good sci-fi film as well as a science fiction film, because the storyline, it's really about a father-daughter relationship. And I think that family storyline really brings it home. Sci-fi can often feel a bit too outlandish, a bit too detached. This had never happened. But there's elements in the film where it alludes to this family storyline, when he's coming back off that water planet and he's watching 28 years worth of videos that have been banked up whilst he's been away for an hour. I think really sort of hits home and starts you thinking about, relativity, basically. So I might have gone a bit over the top there on my explanation of why I feel like it should be in the top 5. But this one is definitely a hill I'm willing to die on. So that's my first suggestion.
Nice one. So, Chris, Interstellar, are you agreeing that this goes on this list?
Yes, it's my number 2.
Nice one. Anything to add?
I agree with all the points. I think the score's fantastic. The special effects are amazing. It's very factually accurate. It ticks all the boxes for this top 5.
Nice one. John, can you put it on the list?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Nolan fan, but I do find his films actually do. You have to use your brain a bit, and he doesn't kind of hand down to you. So that kind of that's always a bonus. The only thing I don't like about it is the same problem I have with lots of different They use a get out clause at the end, which I'm sure will come to if another classic film comes up. But it's all kind of a bit wishy washy when it gets to the final beat of how everything's resolved. Other than that, though, I think the idea of the world being torn apart by wind and everyone's crops starting to fail and the food running out and the dust storms, everything in this film seems highly plausible, apart from that robot that with the made out of columns. Having said that, I think it's perfectly good. I think the science is sound, and I think it should go on the list.
Nice one. Well, with 3, it has made the list. Matt, would have you agreed?
I would have agreed. Yes, I like Christopher Nolan a lot. I find his films fascinating. I think he goes for high concept ideas, as John said, that don't dumb down to everybody. Unlike John, though, I actually think those formulated robots are quite plausible, more than a lot of the other sciencey things that we'll perhaps talk about today, because we are talking a lot of these films might come in on the fringe. Again, yeah, I'm with John on that bit at the end. I'm not quite sure how to take that. From what I understand, they tried to postulate that inside a black hole where time it doesn't really sustain itself, there is all time in there. It's like they created a tesseract, which is where you see all the variations of everything just going beyond. If you look at yourself in a mirror and then put a camera up against it and then put a mirror behind you, you'll see endless versions of yourself. And basically that's what this tesseract thing was at the end. Inside the black hole. So yeah, they did. What are you supposed to do? If you're going to fly into a black hole, how else are you supposed to end it? You've got to, no one knows what's inside a black hole. They can only hypothesize. There's no, is matter in there? Do we even know matter gets crushed? Who knows what goes on in there? So it's all fantasy when it gets down to that last quarter of the film. But I loved it. I thought he did a very good job for what it was. He tied it up well with the beginning of the film and the coordinates and giving his information to his future elder daughter. We've already spoiled we've already put spoilers in there anyway, but I like the fact that there's the equations they're trying to solve, the equations of getting artificial gravity so that we can move the human race outside of our gravity well up into the atmosphere, out of our orbits. It's a fantastic film. Love it. The music's great. Acting's brilliant. Who doesn't love Matthew McConaughey? He's great. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's 2 hours 45 minutes, and it doesn't withstand the boredom factor. I think I could have sat there and watched more and more and more. I just thought it was a very, very good film. I loved it. And yes, it should go on.
Nice one. I would have been. I'm glad everybody else has said yes, because it was 8 on my list. So I was on the cusp as whether I would say yes or not. So everybody else has put it on, so it doesn't matter. The reason the ending is, I think it was brilliant, and with a big spoiler warning, if you haven't seen this film, the interdimensional bookcase is the thing that just knocks it down for me. I did that, yeah.
Same here. So, yeah, why?
That is the only reason that I have it lower. And
it's time. Time is inside the black hole. It's time as not how we see it. Time is everywhere. It's everywhere. So it's all at once. So you can see time at the beginning, at the end, at the future, everything. So that's what it was.
It was the aliens. It was the aliens' way of getting him to communicate with his daughter.
Well, it wasn't actually the aliens, though, was it? It was future humans.
Future humans.
This is that's where I have to draw a line. So, yeah.
But taking all the science that's in it that gets them to that point, that is completely plausible. Yeah. And I like time. I love time dilation. With being close to black hole. There's a very good book that my dad gave me years and years ago called Tau Zero by this Swedish author called Paul Anderson. Powans. I can't remember his name, but it's all about faster than light speed travel and how it affects time dilation and the effect on the humans that are traveling at that speed. That they are basically lost to time effectively. It's really, really interesting that.
Wasn't the physicist involved a guy called Kip Thorne? So they actually had
I
a
believe
physicist
you're
on
right there.
staff
Yeah.
to advise them on everything, but everything from the water baths for the speed, for the protection of their bodies, to straight to the time dilations and things like that. It all seemed very, very plausible.
Yeah.
Was one of the robots called Kip as
Nice
well?
one.
I can't remember.
It might be.
I think it was. I
might
think
be
I think
right.
one of the. So maybe
Yeah.
that was why he was named Kip. I
Yeah.
shall look it up.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, Alex, with your first nomination, we have our first film on the list. So Interstellar has made it through. Nice one. Chris, you got our second one.
I knew you were going to come to me.
I stuck to alphabet this week.
I'm going to nominate 1995's Contact with Jodie Foster, directed by Robert Zemeckis, and also starring Matthew McConaughey. And it's a fantastic film. I went to see it at the cinema. I was 14 when it came out. I think it's a brilliant film, and just from the moment it starts, you're kind of hooked on Jodie Foster's journey. She has a very traumatic experience at a young age, and it kind of forms this relationship with the stars and with the other planets and science, and she becomes a scientist. And then fast forward to present day, and she's monitoring for extraterrestrial signals at SETI, and she hears a signal that's very strong and clearly something from out with the Milky Way, and it's very far away. And so the film just explodes, and they try and work out what this is, and it becomes more complex, and there's a lot of information being sent in the signal. And fast forward to them having built this machine based on the instructions from this signal, and they believe it to be extraterrestrial, but they're very skeptical. And then Jodie ends up going in this vehicle and finding out what is out there. And I absolutely love this film. The sound is amazing. Jodie Foster's performance is brilliant. You really feel for her character when she's trying to search for the truth. And then the ending, which I don't want to give away, is an absolute sucker punch, and it always annoys me, really bugs me what happens at the end, but it doesn't take away anything from this brilliant film. I think this is very accurate, and I believe it's definitely how we as humans, especially Americans, would react to such a signal coming from outer space.
Okay. John, Contact, is it making it?
It's it's not actually on my list. I think there are better films. Not to say that it's a bad film, but I mean there are. I think the problem I have with this, as far as science fact is concerned, is it. I don't know. I have. It's the alien thing. You've got to kind of buy the intelligent life, and that's not a huge stumbling block for me, because actually I do kind of think that there is some sort of life out there. There has to be, astronomically. But I don't know. From my point of view, I'm not. I think there are better. I mean, yes, it's Robert Zemeckis, and yes, he's got a heck of a cast, but there's just something about it that just doesn't feel quite. It doesn't feel quite there for me.
Okay, so. Matt.
Yes, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I love this film. I adore it. It's one of my favorite films. It's tough because it is such a good film. I'm not sure it completely tallies up to what we're trying to put on today. I do. I think it's down there. It was on my list. I put it up there as one of my list, but it was way down there. I try not to. I come to these things, especially when we're on short notice, and I kind of list them all, and I don't tend to number them at all. So I tend to think I'll come in and I'll make my decision when I hear what other people have to say, and I have my one or two that I like, but this is down there, and it would be high up on one of my favorite films list, but I wouldn't put it quite up there with where we're trying to tally the topic for this week. That being said, it is a very good film. Again, it's another long science fiction film, and who doesn't love long science fiction films? Love them when they're very entertaining, and this is a very entertaining film. I like the John Hurt character, especially, very reminiscent of Howard Hawks, where he's a multi-millionaire, billionaire recluse who dallies in the extraordinary, the occult, the obscure, and I like the crypticness of it all. I find that very interesting, and it does grip you the entire way through. Again, this was another Matthew McConaughey film that a lot of people forget about. It was one of his early ones. Very, very good. Jodie Foster, as always, is fantastic. Very solid, great performance. Very studied performance. And yeah, special effects are great, and it does hold up very well today. But I'm going to say no, because I do think there are. Where are we at? We've got one already, so I think there's 6 other better ones that can get on there. But it is a fantastic movie.
So I'm going to say no as well, Chris. I'm sorry. So it hasn't made the list, but mine's kind of for the opposite reason to what Matt just said. I think it seems very science accurate. I'm just not a very big fan of the film. So it hasn't made the list for me because I'm not a massive fan of it. I think it was billed when I was younger. Like when it came out, I was young and probably too young to appreciate what it was going for, and was expecting the end of the movie to be more fun than the movie presented itself. So it didn't have a great ending for me when I was younger. I have watched it since, and I do appreciate it a little bit more. But I think for me, I don't rank it that highly as a movie. But I do think it seems very, very plausible and very scientific fact, as in how we would like react if this sort of situation happened, especially as Americans would, as Chris said. So for me, it very much falls onto this list. I just think there are definitely 7 movies that are better than this movie for me. So unfortunately, Chris, it hasn't made it. Al, would have you said yes or no?
To be honest, I don't actually think I've seen this one. When Paul asked me to go on the show, I like films. Don't get me wrong, but films wouldn't be my mastermind topic. So I haven't seen everything that's going to be on this list. But part of the reason I wanted to get involved with this is to unearth these films that this sounds right up my alley. So I will seek it out. But in 1997, I was probably watching different sorts of films, and there's one on my list that might give you a better indication of where my mind was at back then. So no, having not seen it, or at least not remembered seeing it, I couldn't put it in.
Okay. So Contact has not made it. So we have one, Interstellar. John, can you give us the second one?
Oh, I don't know whether. Oh no, I'll save that one for my next time around. Actually, because I doubt anybody's seen it, let alone like it. I'm going to go for iRobot. Actually, I think it's one of those films that was really. Sorry, bear with me. It's one of those films which kind of did the popular version of a very old classic sci-fi, which was based from story from Isaac Asimov. It's actually almost one of his original sets of stories, along with his Foundation and his Caves of Steel stories. It's basically the foundation of every single robotic movie ever, the story. And I think this actually put a very playful spin on it and actually encapsulated quite a few different stories into one particular one. Because Asimov, as much as he was very good at speculative fiction and sci-fi, his writing could be a bit dry. Now, this is from Alex Proyas, who's the guy who did The Crow. He hasn't done much that people would think is any good since. That being Gods of Egypt was greatly torn apart. Knowing, on the other hand, was actually overlooked, and I think that one should be seen more often. This one, on the other hand, Will Smith, star power. It's got a fully CGI second lead in the robot Sonny, and it all starts with the murder of a roboticist who seems to be a recluse, and Detective Spooner, Will Smith, who decides to investigate the murder, even though he doesn't think it's a murder. It's not thought to be a murder by anybody else, because robots can't harm people. Because this is the introduction of the 3 rules of robotics, the hierarchy of laws where robots can protect themselves but can't hurt anybody else. So yeah, it's and Will Smith's character is basically the only person who believes that anything untoward's going on, and then everything starts happening to him. I feel it's slick, nice. It gives us a world where robots and robotic helpers, much like Amazon's trying to wheel out at the minute, gives us an idea of what the future might look like with robots. And possibly what can happen if we give them a little too much ability to think ahead. I like this. I think it fits perfectly with our subjects this week. Yeah, I'll give you iRobot.
Okay. Matt? Will Smith? iRobot? Are you...
I think I'm not a fan of Will Smith at all. I think he's a terrible actor. That's not any judgment on the film. That's not
this year.
Yeah, well, I've seen that film. It's not that good. Well, we'll see. Maybe his years in the wilderness has done his acting some good. I don't know. I don't know about this film. It fits perfectly, as John said. Absolutely fits perfectly. Robots scare me. I don't like AI. I don't like robots. They scare me. It's probably one of the things that we're talking about in movies for this topic that is probably almost upon us. And for me, it's a bit of a topic that I don't like. It's like, ooh. AI just freaks me out. The movie, it's just, I don't enjoy it. It's a crap movie. I didn't enjoy it in the cinema. Watched it again on DVD. Didn't enjoy it. Just don't like the movie. It's it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's a sci-fi neo-noir detective story, and it didn't strike with me at all. Special effects are good. Alex Proyas is a good director. I would recommend before seeing this, seeing Dark City, and Knowing is very good, as John said, very good. But yeah, this movie is a bit pants, if you ask me. So for that reason, I'm going to say no, even though it does fit completely with this. But I wouldn't even put it at 7. So no, it's a no for me.
See, I completely forgot about this movie. Now, I quite like this movie. I don't love this movie, but I think it's an entertaining, like, action movie. I think I forgot about it because, like, one robot I just feel it felt too far in the future. I think, like, a mountain of robots that essentially Will Smith has to fight at the end. I don't know. It felt so I didn't even think of it as this. Now it's here. I think I've got 7 that I would put above it, but I found it entertaining. So sorry, John. It's a no from me, but I did quite like it.
I have a feeling this is going to be a long night.
I enjoyed this movie. But if somebody asked me to pick a top, 5, 10, it wouldn't get in there. It's just a nice to watch. For me, it doesn't really get me considering things too much. It's a bit too slick. I don't know, a bit too. I don't know, maybe 15 certificate. Hollywood. When they try and middle it a bit too much. So yeah, it's not on my list, but I enjoyed it as a film.
Cool. Well, it hasn't made it, John. Chris, Irobot.
When I was coming up with my 10, my list of 10 earlier for John, I considered it. I thought about it. I like the near future tech. I like the fact that Audi managed to get an RS8 into it about 10 years before it came out. But it's it didn't make my top 12 when I was making a list. But sorry, John.
Okie doke. So we're still down to 1, which is Interstellar. So Matt, have you got the second one?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. I'm going to go for. Yeah, let's lighten up. I'm going to go for 1987. I'm going to go for. I'm going to be a bit of a B movie. I'm going to go for Robocop. I think this is only a movie that can ever be made in the 80s, right? It can only ever have been made in the 80s. We're not too far away from a human cyborg, an augmented human with stronger robotic arms, robotic legs, cybernetic implants. This is just a good movie. It's a good. It's a movie that I saw when I was, again, one of these movies in the 80s that I saw on video. It was one of those ones that was talked about in the schoolyard. It was spoken about with great reverence, and you're like, it's one of those things where you must see this. Oh, have you seen this? It's got it's got this and it's got that and it's got this amazing action, and it's an 80s movie through and through. Outlandish, I would say, outlandish. It's a very comic book-esque movie that has huge underpinnings of satire against corporate America and gigantic multinational conglomerates who own everything, who have fingers in all the pies, who want all the money, not just a little bit of money, all the money, and they want to control everything, not only the legal sides of life, but also the illegal sides of life. It's Paul Verhoeven directing, and this was, I think, his second English language movie. And it's got Peter Weller as Murphy, who would be the would-be Robocop. It's in a dystopian future, America. the world itself is going to pieces. There's little resources. There's atomic weapons. There's the Cold War is still happening. We're assuming this is way beyond the 80s now. There's all those Paul Verhoeven touches that you saw in Total Recall, and in oh god, what's the sci-fi one they did? I can't remember. Someone
Basic
shout it
Instinct.
out.
Total Recall.
No, the other one,
Starship
with the
Troopers.
aliens.
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers, where you have the media inserts that just drop in, and there's like adverts.
Would you like to know more?
Would you like to know what, that kind of thing, that they drop in a lot during Robocop. And there's a brilliant one where they're doing a 1980s battleship kind of home board game where you can nuke your friends and nuke your family.
Yes.
To win the game. It's very satirical. It's extraordinarily violent. It's gruesome. It's bloody, and there was a huge outroar over it. And a lot of people who saw it in the cinema. It was uncut in England. It came out uncut in the cinema, but I only ever saw it as a kid. In the massively scissored version, it was like scythed to pieces on UK terrestrial television, where there must have been about 15, 16, 20 minutes even cut out of it.
It was more. It was more, Matt.
More, yeah, even more. I mean, it hugely.
Yeah.
And it was only in the last sort of 10 or 15 years since the advent of DVD and uncut releases on Blu-rays and DVDs and 4Ks, where the director's vision is actually allowed to be seen. And some of the stuff in it is brilliant, and it makes me think why it made it more sinister and more scary for me as a kid watching it, not seeing the full picture, because watching the full picture, it's more comical. It has that more comic vibe. The violence is way more comical. That being said, the death of Murphy before he is taken off by Omnicorp, OCP, Omni Consumer Products, who are the conglomerate, the multinational conglomerate, who own the Detroit police. And there's an internal executive war going on inside the company for vying for positions in the hierarchy of the corporation, and they buy into the Detroit police for a number of reasons, but one of them is so that they can push this new technology, and they want to have military contracts. So they want to invest in military firepower, and one of them goes very, very wrong in one of the meetings where it's being shown, and so the backup plan comes up, and it's basically a human cyborg robot. A human robot, a human cyborg robot mix. So anyway, you're right. So yeah, so there's Peter Weller has this. He's Murphy. He goes and he oh God, I'm making a massive meal of this. He goes. He gets. But he comes and he's transferred from another division, which is further in the south of the country. He comes up to Detroit. It's a massive, dodgy, really bad, very violent area, and he on his first day in this new department, he gets gunned down in a very, very violent way, and he gets taken off by the corporation who's bought the Detroit police, and he's made into Robocop. Yeah, brilliant special effects. I think it's definitely a movie of its time, and I do think we aren't that far away from this kind of technology. Hopefully, not this destructive, but it's an iconic movie. It really is an iconic movie, and it definitely deserves a place on here, I think. Yeah, sorry for the rambling.
No, it's all right. I'm glad that I can go next, because this didn't feature on my list, and I didn't think of it, Matt, but it allows me to use the line, "I'll buy that for $1." Yes, I'd forgotten about Robocop, and it's a brilliant movie, and yeah, it's gonna jump in somewhere on my top 7. So you said you rambled, but you sold it. So you got one vote from me, Al.
I enjoy the film. I think the director gets the genre well. But I actually have two of his films on my list, and this one isn't. So for that reason, I'm not going to put this one through.
Okay. Chris, is it getting a third vote?
I I thought about this film yesterday when I was thinking about the list and the category, and um, I think I agree with Matt that it's potentially what could happen in the next 10 to 15 years, maybe even sooner. And the film is excellent. It's one of my favorite films. It is brutal. It's so violent, and I would have seen the screening on ITV that Matt would have done in, I think it was 1990, and ITV cut about half an hour out of the film. And I even remember the replacement swear words. So this Mother Crusher is one of the things that the insults in the OCP boardroom. And yeah, seeing that the scene where Alex Murphy gets gunned down will forever haunt me. Even now, I find it a bit of a struggle to watch. But can't take away from the fact that it is an amazing film, and a great kind of sort of spotlight into Reaganism and capitalism, and obviously now with Trumpism and that sort of vibe. I don't know. I don't know if I can say yes to this. Does it fit for me? Yeah. It's yeah. Okay.
Well, there we go. Robocop is our second film on this list. John, would have you said yes?
Yeah, I think I would, because whereas his future ones are probably a little more slick, this is definitely the prototype for those films. And it's definitely got his Paul Verhoeven's sensibilities about it. You can tell he's not American, but the fact that he has Murphy walking on water basically towards the end. I always thought was rather cool. Yeah, I buy that for $1 is a line that I trot out time and time again. It's one of my lines now. I've taken it on. Yes, it's violent. Yes, I own the three disc box set of all three films. And as much
Robocop
as
3, yeah.
PG.
Yeah, but that's because Orion, the studio, ran out of money.
They'd already made a kids animated TV show, but at that point as well, I think. So it'd gone fully the opposite direction of the original vision, I think.
Yeah, but they also did a TV series as well, filmed in Canada, really cheap and nasty. But I like it. I like the idea of the Ed 209 units. There's something rather cute about them when they're falling down the stairs and waggling their toes. I could definitely see this as one of the films that should be on the list. I think it fits the bill.
Nice one. So Robocop has made it. We have two films. It's now down to me, and I can't decide whether to go for my number one or my number two. And I'm going to go with my number two choice just because a film about AI and robots didn't make it. So I'm going to see if I can convince Matt to put another one on there. And my pick is Ex Machina, the directorial debut of Alex Garland, where Donald Gleason plays Caleb Smith, who is invited to take part in an experiment to evaluate the capabilities of a humanoid AI called Ava, played by Alicia Vikander, brilliantly played by her. Oscar Isaac is the reclusive designer of Ava, and I just think it's a film that's definitely plausible. I think it fits this bill of where we could go with robotics and AI shortly in the future, and quite scarily, like how the possibilities of physical resemblance are there, and what robotics could do in terms of are they alive or not in the future. And without spoiling it, I thought the ending of the movie was great. So for me, this fits this bill, and I think that Ex Machina should be our robotic AI movie that makes it. Al, Ex Machina?
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the film. It was a bit creepy, and not for the AI aspects. There's just something about the whole setting that was a bit seedy, and it just made me feel a bit uneasy, which maybe was the point. I don't know, but yeah, it's not on my list, so I'm not gonna put it through. And yeah, I don't think all the red lighting helped either.
Okay. Chris, what do you think of this film?
Sorry, I was mute. I like it. I think I've only seen it once, and I struggle to remember much of it. So for that reason, it's a no for me.
Okay. John, can you keep this one alive?
Yeah, I think I can. This is kind of like the consumer robot version of AI. It's definitely done with a. You can kind of see Oscar Isaacs. There is an ulterior. There seems to be an ulterior motive in his creation of Ava, and the fact that he's trying to. If we relate it to another movie, it's almost like Joy from Blade Runner 2049. But it's interesting because I kind of get the feeling that he's created her one way, but he's kind of programmed her to, with the need to escape. I think it's not a case of prove that I'm human. It's a case of I need to escape, and that puts a very interesting spin on it when it gets to the later stages of the film. It is very stylish. You can tell that it's Alex Garland. You can tell that it probably got an awful lot of Danny Boyle influence in a advisory capacity, because I think it was the DNA, the production company, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's production company. This is his first proper directorial film, although if you believe the hubbub, Dread was actually directed an awful lot by Alex Garland. It does have that creepiness. You're never quite sure where you are with it, but yeah, I think that this actually does go for this. This could go on the list as our AI film.
Matt, you don't like AI, and you're the deciding vote.
No, I only personally don't like AI. I like AI movies, as you know. I was trying to get AI, artificial intelligence, onto our Spielberg list, which was roundly sent away packing. I think this is a fantastic movie. I think it's the better AI movie. It's the one AI robotic movie that should go on there. It's fantastic. I like it that Alex Garland has taken sci-fi to a Hitchcockian level. I got massive Hitchcock vibes from this film. It's roundly well acted by everyone involved. The production design is stellar. And I read somewhere that there was barely any green screen at all. A lot of it was costume. A lot of it was lighting and production design. A lot of it was done on set. And the special effects that were put in marginally later were very, very good, obviously, but they were so subtle that you could hardly tell. And yeah, I love it. I think it's a brilliant movie. And I would heartily recommend seeing anything that Alex Garland has directed. He was a great novelist before and a scriptwriter before this, before being a director. And I do like Annihilation. It's a bit more spurious than this, which he did a few years later. And I would highly recommend seeing his TV show from 2020 called Devs, if you can get hold of it. It's fantastic. In fact, it's got a brilliant ending as well. So yes, this movie, Ex Machina, is fantastic.
Devs is great.
Devs is brilliant. Really good.
It does kind of seem that Devs could almost be a successor to this.
Quantum computers is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with 3 votes, I've got a film on the list. Ex Machina has gone on as our 3rd film on this list. So back round to the beginning. Al, can you give us the 4th one?
Hopefully, yeah. So my second on the list is the second best science fact movie where they have to go and rescue Matt Damon. So it's the 2015 film by Ridley Scott, based on the book by Andy Weir called The Martian. So this stars Matt Damon again, Jessica Chastain again, Kristen Wiig and Sean Bean. I'm not sure how many times he says bastard in this one. I haven't counted. So the overview of the film is man gets left on Mars, has to survive with limited resources until he can get rescued. Now, I do feel this one is more scientifically accurate than Interstellar. And the book is excellent. I get an urge to read a novel about once every 5 years. It's not really my bag. But this one, I think I read in 3 sittings. I wanted to get it in time to be able to go and see the film in the cinema before it fell off. And I loved it. I love the science in it. They basically just talk you through all this scientific experiments, but it's engaging, it's funny, the storyline's good. And it's a great film in my opinion, and it perfectly fits the bill of science fiction. And the only reason it's not number 1 on my list is I just like Interstellar slightly more. There's not much in it, to be honest. So yeah, that's my next nomination.
Nice one. Chris, what did you think of The Martian?
I think The Martian is fantastic. It's number 4 on my list, so yeah.
Nice one. John?
Yeah, it's nice to see Ridley Scott doing something that's a bit of a crowd pleaser as well as looking incredibly nice. I think this is one of those films where you believe the science, you believe Matt Damon, weirdly, it apparently. I think I'm right in saying that the only thing that isn't correct in this film scientifically is the sandstorm at the beginning that actually destroys the habitat, because that's but that was the only thing they could come up with that could actually force everybody off the planet. The rescue mission at the end, the people coming up with different ideas of how to do it, the fact that he's going to science the shit out of it with poo, and he's growing his potato farm. Definitely, I think it should go on the list.
3 votes, it's there. Matt, what have you said? Yes.
I would have said yes. Yeah, it's a very good film. I too read the book. I try to read a book every month or so, and for this one, it was recommended through the Amazon algorithm. It popped up because I do read a lot of science fiction, a lot of fantasy books and stuff like that. Have done since I was a teenager. And the guy who wrote it, Andy, what was his second? Does anyone know his second
Andy
name?
Weir.
Andy Weir.
Andy Weir. It was self-published, wasn't it, to start with? It was self-published on Amazon's publishing, where authors can come and self-publish digitally through their through their Kindle and stuff like that. So anyway, it got picked up. It got sold an absolute ton. I didn't find the book very, very interesting. It was too sciencey to me. That, as John said, he scienced the shit out of it. In the book, he scienced the shit out of the book. It was absolutely just pages and pages and pages of stuff. I was like, oh God. And I'm not mathematically minded. I'm not necessarily scientifically minded. And so I struggled with the book. I got through it. It was very good. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And so I thought it would make a good movie. When I was reading it, I thought this would make a great movie. Along the lines of another movie, which I might mention a bit later. And it was very enjoyable. I thought I wasn't going to enjoy it because I didn't enjoy the book, but Ridley Scott did a very, very good job. It could well have been a Matt Damon one-man show, but thankfully they extended the film and they brought a lot of stuff from Earth and from the craft going back and then turning around again. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought Matt Damon was good for once. So yeah, I'm happy. If there's any movie that we mentioned tonight that would fit, it would be this one. So yes, I would happily have this on the list near the top. It's not near my top, but I would definitely put it on.
Nice one. Well, it's getting 5 yeses this time. I said that I didn't know whether to pick my number one or my number two on my nomination. This was my number one. I think the science is completely sound. Apparently, this was in my research for this. Apparently, Andy Weir, through his self-publishing, was publishing like a chapter at a time and was asking scientists to actually comment back. And he would, after he'd published a part of the novel, he actually went back and edited based on scientific facts that that people had corrected his science when he first wrote different elements of the story, to get it as completely factually accurate as possible. I prefer this movie to Interstellar, and I actually had this movie as my best film of 2015 in that year when it came out. I think it's brilliant. So yeah, it was number one on my list. So The Martian is made it on there. Is that 4 or 5, John?
That's number
Four.
4.
That's four.
That's 4, isn't it? Yeah, I was just double checking.
Yeah.
So Chris, can you give us the 5th one?
Probably not. The ones that are left on my list are all really good films. The problem is that I can't pitch all of them well enough because I haven't seen them in such a long time, and my memory is really cloudy on the details, which is a shame because oh God, sorry, I'm waffling.
Go with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. We could all like flying cars.
That is a science factual film. Thank you very much, John. The child catcher is real. Okay, so it's lower down on my list, but I know it inside out. so I'll give it a go anyway. I'm not sure whether you would class this as science fact, as a science fiction film, because it's not. It's a dramatic retelling of what's actually happened. It's a historical event. So I'm going with Apollo 13. Ron Howard film, again, 1995, I think. And stars Tom Hanks as Jim Lovell, and Kevin Bacon and Bill Paxton as his as fellow astronauts, and they are on a mission to the moon, and they set off on the 13th of April, 13:13 in the afternoon, and it's Apollo 13, and then sure enough, everything goes wrong, and they and NASA need to work out how to get back to Earth without them dying in space, and it's everything that happens as a result of that. And I love this film. It's fantastic. The performances are amazing. It's instantly quotable. The production design is stunning. The soundtrack is awesome. The cinematography is brilliant. They're still using the footage that they filmed or created, as well as filmed, of the rocket taking off. It's still used now in films, because I think no one has achieved that sort of shots, a quality of shots, as Ron Howard did. I love this film, and it's got a great Hollywood ending, but it's all real. It all happened. Whether it qualifies for this pod, I don't know.
John?
Well, we've just gone from a science fiction rescue to pretty much a science fact rescue. So yeah, there's no doubt it's a really good film. And there's no doubt that the science is pretty good, because it's actual science. It's actual NASA, and actual astronauts, and actually real flight directors all involved with the story. I think it actually manages to tread it manages to tread that very fine line between being a gripping film where, even though you know the ending, you still panic and still worry, and also the fact that and on the other side, it doesn't fall into mawkish. It doesn't a TV movie of the week. It walks the very fine line. Everything is played straight down the middle, and yeah, I mean, you're gonna. The quibble with this is it science fiction, science fact, or is it just a really good science? Is it a really good science film? And that's probably where it's going to fall down. I think. Is it futuristic? Because we were kind of looking towards the future. I think that might be where it falls down for this list. Cool. So I'm going to say it's kind of like the prototype for the Martian, but I don't think that it's actually a science factual future. So I'm going to say no. Just argued myself out of that.
Yeah. Is this going on the list or not, Matt?
No, it's a historical movie, isn't it? It's not really science fiction. Amazing film, amazing film. I think it's Ron Howard's best film, to be honest. I loved it. It's so entertaining how it's basically an escape room in space, and it's the best space orbital adventure since Space Camp. The movie Space Camp from yes, big shout out to Space Camp.
Love that movie.
It's a great movie, and this is a great movie. And John's right. It's the forerunner to The Martian. It's procedural, but it all happened. It's historical, so they can go over these events with a fine tooth comb. And how he made it so entertaining at the same time, with the limitations in the mid-90s that. Yeah, we were in the burgeoning era of CGI after Jurassic Park. That was only a couple of years before that, in 1993. So to make it so believable, and the pioneer of the vomit comet gravity filming, with the amount of hours they must have spent in that must have been astonishing. Wonderful movie, thoroughly entertaining, and I cannot stress that enough. It is an amazing film, but it just doesn't fit for me. Just doesn't fit, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm afraid that is where I fall down as well. It's a really good film that if you haven't seen, you should see. But yeah, it isn't science fiction because we actually did it. So for me, it didn't make the list just because it's science accurate. But yeah, it's not science fiction that could potentially happen. But if you ain't seen it, definitely watch it because it is brilliant. I agree with all those things, but yeah, for me, it fell out of qualifying for the list. It hasn't made it, Chris. Al, what have you said to Apollo 13?
Well, I'll echo a lot of comments that have come before. It's a brilliant movie. It's almost a yard movie for space travel. But if it hadn't have actually happened, then yeah, it'd be right up there. But the fact that it has actually happened, which is arguably more mind blowing, for that reason, I couldn't include it. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, go out and see it. I mean, it's just I've got two young lads, and they haven't seen it yet, and it's just reminded me that they need to get on it. So yeah, brilliant film.
Nice one. Okay, so Chris, Apollo 13 plaudits, but hasn't made the list. So, John, what you got?
Okay. Just quickly looking at my list, let's go for something a bit more. Go on then. Let's go with. I really want to go with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It is one of those films where it's a weird one because it just does not do science fiction in the same way as anybody else. Michel Gondry, French filmmaker, made lots of pop videos, really clever, intricate movement, single take wonders. Turned his hands to making films, and this is also a Charlie Kaufman film. So this is even weirder. But the fact is that the science behind the science part of it is almost a MacGuffin. But what would happen if you could affect your own memories? In this case, how can you take away your bad memories and leave yourself with the good memories? Can you? And it follows Jim Carrey, as he's just come out of a relationship with Kate Winslet, and Kate Winslet has already forgotten him. But she hasn't already forgotten him. She's gone to a place where Tom Wilkinson has strategically wiped bits from her mind so that she can carry on with her life and she can be happy and she can just get over Jim Carrey or in fact just not remember at all Jim Carrey so she can get on with the rest of her life. He finds out about it and he goes and goes to see about the procedure himself, and it's the way it works is really interesting. The fact that what's put on screen is just so many different. It basically he's playing through his memories in different orders, and as they're starting to, as he's remembering them, but also as they're starting to disappear in his head, and as he starts to forget what happened, but he's also forgetting the good bits, and he doesn't want to forget the good bits. He just wants rid of the bad bits. He wants rid of the heartache. You've also got Elijah Woods, who's kind of he's helping the Doctor, in that he's also fancying. I think it's the Doctor's assistant, so he's kind of always around and always trying to try his best with her. But I think I'm a big fan of Michel Gondry and the fact that it's not big and it's not flash, and it's all real world, and it all kind of makes sense. Yeah, it's so completely outlandish that it shouldn't, but yeah, it all seems to work. So yeah, I'm going to say Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay, Matt, Eternal Sunshine. Does that fit this list?
I like this movie.
I know you're a fan.
Yeah, it does fit the list. It does fit the list, but I'm going to play strategically and say no, only because I feel there's not enough science fiction for me in this. There's a lot of science fact. Removing strategic parts of someone's memory for them just smacks of complete reality to me. This is something that I can see happening now. And it's a beautiful movie. I love it. It's also about destiny. I think it's also about fate and how two people can find each other regardless. How what the nature of love is, and it's a wonderful movie. It's fantastically directed. Some beautiful special effects, practical special effects in there as well as CGI. And I don't think Jim Carrey's ever been better, to be honest. And this was back when Kate Winslet was in her, zenith, was hitting her zenith as well. It's a fantastic movie. It's not underrated because it is very critically well received, but I do think a lot of people haven't seen it, and it's a real shame because it's a fantastic movie. But for me, it's just not science fiction-y enough. I don't envision this. Like, I was trying to think of films the other day, and like I've seen films similar to this, going back in the 70s and 80s. There's films like Coma, Michael Crichton's Coma with Michael Douglas. That you've got Altered States, a film from the late 70s, early 80s, which is all deal with kind of medicinal, psychological science, and they're all fantastic. They're all really, really good. But for me, I want to see space. I want to see. It just doesn't fit too well for me. And we're already up to like 4. Oh, I don't know though. It's such a good movie. No, sorry.
Okay. John, I'm afraid you're not going to get a yes from me. And I've only seen it once, and I remember seeing it in the cinema, and I thought it was all right, but it weren't great. I didn't think it was great. I came out of it thinking, and I've never revisited it. So maybe I need to revisit it because I know it is highly regarded, but when I came out, I was just meh on it. So I've never gone back. Jim Carrey is I remember being very good, and Kate Winslet is one of my favourite actresses. But yeah, for me, I've seen it once, and I wasn't that impressed when I saw it. So just on its film quality, nope. Sorry. Al, Eternal Sunshine?
Well, I'm one of those aforementioned people that hasn't seen it, so I couldn't possibly put it in, but I can put it on my list to watch. That's for certain.
Okay. It hasn't made it, John. Chris, would have you said yes?
It's a great film, but I agree with Matt's sentiments. It's not sci-fi enough, and there's not enough tech in it for me. So no.
Okie doke. So
Right.
Eternal Sunshine doesn't make it. So Matt, we're all the way back round to you. You need a fifth one, mate.
Oh God, I've got a list as long as my arm here, that I would love to mention. So there's going to be a lot of honourable mentions here. I'm going to go old school. So there's a good chance that a couple of you, maybe more, have not seen this. I am going to go back to. I'm going to go to the 70s. I'm going to go 1971 to Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton's Andromeda Strain, which is a very scary movie. This is basically an alien contagion, a satellite that has been orbiting in space, crash lands in a New Mexico desert. I think it's New Mexico desert, and its payload is distributed amongst the villages of this little town, and they all collapse, they all die, they're all in a state of decomposition or comatose or along the way to that state. And it starts, as far as I can remember, it's been a while since I've seen it. It starts, it's very 70s, by the way, very 70s. So we're talking like, if you like Star Trek, the original Star Trek, you won't have a problem with seeing this. But it is in that same vein: the clothing, the production design, the special effects, the graphics, the everything smacks of the 70s, the late 60s, early 70s. But it is so gripping. It's so gripping, and it's filmed in such a scientific way, a nonchalant, scientific, procedural, block by block by this is how we are going to achieve what we're going to achieve, and we're going to do it in this way and this way only. So this satellite crash lands in the village in the desert, and as I said, its payload is distributed, and an Air Force jet goes over to take photographs, and their photographs come back, and then the jet crashes. So they have to send people in there, and they've had somebody on standby. They've had a scientific department on standby for just this sort of thing, that if it were to happen, would be able to step up on alerts and take up the mantle of discovering why and what is going on. And there's a pre-built scientific lab built underground, in stages, deep underground, and they have to follow protocols that they've had in place for years and years and years. Everything. Imagine the president of the United States with his atomic nuclear suitcase, his atomic football or whatever they call it, where he's cracking open these codes, and this is what they have to do. They have to go through this procedure. Anyway, so they take samples, and everything's cordoned off and quarantined, and they go into the labs, and they're trying to discover what this thing is, how it's killing people, and what threat it is to the human race, to Earth. And it's just brilliant, and it's so tense. It gets down to the nitty gritty, where there's they go through from level to level of this underground laboratory of protocols of how they should be dealing with each individual specimen. And if things go wrong, they have to go over here, and they have to turn off this, and they have to make sure that these levels, the doors are closed, and that everything's cleansed and stuff like that. And it does go that way. It goes in that direction, and the tension just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds as they're trying to find a solution to this virus, this bacteria, whatever it may be, that's come down with the satellite, and it escapes. It breaks out of the lab, and it becomes airborne, and it's just this journey that is. It's like a page turner. It was a book to start with. It was Michael Crichton's book, and Michael Crichton actually directed this movie as well, and it's filmed like the book. It's a page turner. It's a cliffhanger. Every time you get to a certain point, you're just like, oh, there's one more bit. And it was one of those movies that I think became quite popular again at the start of 2020, along with Contagion from Steven Soderbergh and Outbreak as well. It's a fantastic movie. If no one has seen it before, who's listening or watching this, then please do. It's an old movie, but it is thrillingly good. It really is very, very good. So I think the science is sound. It may have changed a little bit over the last 40 years, but ultimately where we are now and where we were then is very similar. So for me, I think it's a fantastic movie, and it should definitely be on the list.
Okie doke. As you might have guessed, I'm one of the people that has not seen this film, Matt. So unfortunately, I can't say yes. I've seen the other Michael Crichton directed movie from the 70s in Westworld, and that was very good. And potentially, now thinking about it, could possibly fall onto this list. Which I didn't have down. But unfortunately, I've not seen this film, although it does sound like one that I would enjoy. Al?
Again, not seen it. It sounds incredibly topical, as you've alluded to. So I think, I could probably persuade the wife to watch it as well, if she could get over the anxiety of the rest of the pandemic for an evening. But yeah, no, it looks good. It ticks the box, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So it's
Chris, I think you have seen this one.
I have seen this film. I love this film. It's fantastic. I agree with everything Matt said. It's painfully 70s, but I think that just adds to the charm of it. And the kind of watching it with more modern eyes, it kind of adds to the fear that you have, thinking, how are these people with really outdated technology going to deal with this alien, symbiote, for want of a better word? It's as if Marvel had done like Venom prequel in the early 1970s. This is kind of what it would have been. It's a great film, and it was just off of my top 5, but seeing as my top 5 is to shit, I'm going to say yes.
Well, that's 2 votes. So, John, you get to decide on the Andromeda Strain.
Oh, I get to decide. I'm a big Michael Crichton fan. This is one of the films I saw late night on BBC One. This is a film I'm very glad is on the list, because I read the book. Everything in the book is in the film. They're very true to it. Michael Crichton's very good at taking a situation and then taking that 2 steps forward to make it into science fiction. The Operation Wild, the Wildfire Team, as they're called. It's great. Sorry, Matt, but it was actually Robert Wise, and you were talking about Star Trek.
Did he not direct it then?
Yeah,
no.
Michael Crichton went on after this. But yeah, it's Robert Wise who did The Sound of Music and Star Trek, the motion picture. So it's all very, very stylized, all very color paletted, as you're saying, as they go through the levels of being decontaminated. Where they have it. First, it's a shower, then it's a body laser to shed skin, and then scrubbing. All going down in the different levels. It is it is a puzzle. It's a puzzle of a movie, but it also includes psychological elements. The idea of the single man hypothesis, which comes into play. The medical conditions that don't get that we know as an audience, but aren't told to the crew who are putting it all together. The scientists who think they know exactly what they're doing but don't. It's one of those 70s films which, it looks a bit creaky now, but to be fair, I don't think much would have changed if this actually came about now. So yeah, I'd definitely put this on the list.
Well, we have a fifth film. We have a 5 there. The Andromeda Strain has made it on, Matt. So
Can I just say quickly
go.
Sorry, yeah, the special effects were fantastic, even for the time. They do handle themselves quite well nowadays, and they're also done by Douglas Trumbull, who did the ones for 2001. Am I right? 2001 Space Odyssey. Douglas
Yes.
Trumbull, he did those as well. Yeah, so they're very good. Very, very good.
Silent Running.
And
And
Blade
Silent
Runner
as well. And Blade Runner. Yeah, he was a good
Yes,
guy.
today
He was
he's
good-
years
good
old when I
special
found
effects
out that he did play, special effects on Blade Runner.
Cool.
So-
Well, we've got 5. We're going to try and find 2 more. I know we're running a little bit long, so I'm going to go quick with my nom. I'm going with the Steven Spielberg movie. It's my number 3, and it stars Tom Cruise and Colin Farrell, and it's set in 2054. There is a pre-crime division, and they have the ability to know when you're going to commit a crime in Minority Report, Steven Spielberg's 2002 film. And I just think it predicts so much stuff that is coming true, and it is an unbelievably entertaining movie. So I think it fits perfectly on this list. In my research for this, believe it or not, in the US, there is a beta version of a pre-crime system being tested right now. So it's definitely plausible, this movie. And then there are other things that have actually come true: motion tracking computer interfaces, retina scans, projected heads-up displays. Everything is coming true. Everything. Steven Spielberg consulted loads of scientists and engineers when designing this film, and I think it is a thoroughly entertaining thriller, and shockingly accurate. The things that are coming true in this film, coming true from this film. I think it deserves a place on this list. So Minority Report is my nomination. Al, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I enjoyed the film. You've made a lot of observations there that have come true, and you find yourself when you see these things come to life thinking, well, I was in Minority Report. I've done it numerous times, like with pulling stuff around the screen and such. It definitely fits the bill. It's a good story. It's enjoyable, but it wasn't on my list. I'm not convinced the ones I have left on my list would actually be any better, but I've made my bed now, so it's a no from me.
Okay, Chris, Minority Report.
It wasn't in my top 5, but it was just outside. Yeah.
Nice one. John?
I would go to bat for this every day of the week. This is, apart from the central premise of the 3 precogs, the rest of the film pretty much fits the bill all the way. The I love the cars. I think my one futuristic problem is the fact that the cars are going over the buildings. Apart from that, though, I think the VR suites, the gesture control computer, the shops that tracking your eyes, seeing what you, trying to sell you what you're already looking at before you know you're looking at it is brilliant. Yeah, I'll bat for this all day.
Nice one. So Minority Report has made it. Matt, would have you said yes?
I would have, yes. Don't need to add anything. It's all been said before. It's a fantastic movie.
Amazing. So that's 6. Al, you said you'd made your list. Can you get one of them in this 7th spot?
Not convinced. I mean, my first 2, I felt like, they're dead certs, and then when I got those 2 down, it got to the stage where, when Alan Partridge is trying to get a second series at the BBC, and he's just coming up with names. It's like Partridge Amongst the Pigeons. What's that? I don't know. It's just that's what the topic felt like at this point to me. But I did try, and I guess one that I've watched recently, and looking at recent viewing, the majority of the world watched recently. And that's the 2021 Netflix film Don't Look Up. So this is directed by Adam McKay. Stars Leo, Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, Cate Blanchett, and Jonah Hill, to name but a few. So I felt like I needed at least one asteroid-based movie on this list, and I particularly like this one for its satirical nature. So the premise: a comet heading for Earth. These 2 scientists you can see on screen here are trying to convince the world that actually we need to do something about it, but the rest of the world has their head too far up their arse, worrying about pop culture and midterm elections. I think it has split opinion on its release. I mean, if you go into watching it knowing that it's actually about climate change rather than a comet hitting the planet, I think it makes the jokes a little bit more cutting. The fair few on my list after this are satirical based films. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed what it's trying to do as well. I think there was some good characters within it. Jonah Hill, I particularly enjoyed his exchanges with the boy with the dragon tattoo. I found particularly enjoyable. But it's a serious topic. It's a serious issue. It's a serious science-based issue that we're dealing with now, and I think the film does a good way to convey that to the masses in a humorous way. And they pulled out all the big guns for it. I mean, there was some still that I saw on social media. There was like 4 Academy Award winners within one screen grab from the film or something like that. And they've got all the young kids, the Ariana Grandes, Timmy Chalamet, and the pop culture people in there. And you've got to assume that they haven't paid them their standard wage to do the film. These actors and actresses have done it for the reasons that the film's arguably made, to try and convey the issues that the world's facing at the minute, but ultimately in a scientifically accurate and funny satirical way. So yeah, that's my third one that I'm submitting. So yeah,
nice one. Chris, have you checked out Don't Look Up yet?
I have, yeah. I enjoyed it. Absolutely terrifying. And I'm just thankful that we're not still in a Trump administration, because that's seeing how they would deal with such an end of Earth event is terrifying, scary as. I can't put it on the list because I think there are better sci-fact films that we haven't mentioned yet.
Okie doke. John, Don't Look Up.
Yeah. We've had a kind of like a WhatsApp chat about this, and as much as I like what it's trying to do, I just don't think it's tight enough. I mean, it's like Adam McKay usually does Step Brothers and Anchorman and other films like that, and it just seems that one of the things about those films is the fact that they're usually rather loose, and the talent involved get to riff off each other, and you get all these wonderful outtakes and alternate takes and everything. And this feels like the film where he waited for that to happen and left in all the pauses, and it doesn't feel right for me. Like I say, as much as I like what it's trying to do, I just don't think that it does it particularly well. I mean, I like the idea that the industrialist is going to save the world with his technology, and everyone says, and his case, oh no, it doesn't exist, and everyone's going to get jobs out of this comet and things like this, and I just kind of feel that everything, there's a maxim with editing, is a case of cut in late, cut out early. And I just feel like he just leaves everything hanging there a little bit too long, which kind of almost sucks all the life out of it. So yeah, I think some of it is humorous, but I don't think it's one of his best, and I'm gonna say no. So
Okay. It's Still Alive, Matt. Don't Look Up.
I haven't been listening to you guys because I have not seen it, and I'm trying not to listen to any spoilers, so I can't put it in because I've just not got around to watching it yet. Sorry.
No worries. So it hasn't made the list. It wasn't on my list. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great in terms of film. I think it had an important message, and I think it's worth people checking out. But I think Adam McKay has made better movies in the past couple of years. I think his two previous films were better movies. This is possibly the most important message of all the films he's made. But yeah, in terms of actual film quality, I think there are better films out there. So it would have been a no from me as well, I'm afraid. So we're still at 6. Chris, you're having trouble. Can you convince us with another one?
Go on, Chris.
We got one to get.
So I've got number 1 on my list. Number 6 and number 7 have not been mentioned yet. I don't think I can do a good enough pitch for my number 1. So I'm going to go with my number 6 choice. Because number 7's all about aliens. So I'm going to suggest Sam Rockwell in Moon. I can't remember when it came out now. 2017, 2018, I think.
God, no, way earlier than that.
Way earlier, was it?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God, wow. Well,
long time.
There you go. It shows you it still holds up. It's about an astronaut who's on the moon. The moon's been colonized. He's a miner. He's on his own. ... with only an emoji robot for company. and the Earth is running out of resources, and they've discovered that the moon has valuable minerals, so he's mining them. He tries to contact Earth, his work, and he's just, they come up with all these excuses. Something's not right, and then he investigates further, and the mystery deepens as to why things are not working, and then his whole world gets turned upside down, and it then becomes a race to escape from the moon, and get back home, which he hasn't been to for a very long time. And I love the film. It's a solo performance. Sam Rockwell on his own, apart from a few video calls, and the moon base is grubby. It's dirty. It's very lived in. It's got a very kind of alien vibe about it, and all the things are broken. And Sam Rockwell, his character's kind of schlubby, but you're rooting for him. He's very empathetic, and it looks amazing. It's brilliantly directed by I've forgotten the director's name.
Duncan Jones.
That's it. Thank you. Yes. I think it's a great film, and it's definitely where we are headed in the near future, without giving any spoilers.
Yeah, I think it's important we don't give spoilers away for this film.
And to be fair, that's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons why I'm not playing the trailer anymore.
Yeah. John?
Yeah. I'm a latecomer to this. I watched this last night, I liked it. It's got a very nice jovial feel to it. I mean, apart from the things that happen in it, it's actually a very nice character study. Sam Rockwell does a great job, and it looks good. It's got good model work in it as well. It's not as original as you may think, because there's a certain Tom Cruise movie which covers a lot of the same beats, and so I mean, and I have to say that in 1981, 82, when a certain Star Wars actor was hunting people down, that kind of everything kind of triggered from that. I kind of went in knowing what was going to happen. I just didn't know how it was going to end up. So, but it's not terribly original, but it's incredibly well done. And I think as far as mining the moon is concerned for helium-3 and the search for new technologies, I can well believe they'd leave someone on the moon for 3 years to deal with automated extraction vehicles. So yeah, I'll put it on the list.
Nice one. Matt, does Moon make it?
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah. I was debating whether to say yes, only because I think there's enough films here. I know I've got at least 3 more films. I think there's definitely room for an 8th, to be honest. But Moon has to go on now. I love Moon. I think it's brilliant. I've only ever seen it once, and I remember thinking I got a real big French filmmaking vibe from it. It's very kind of stripped back. It's very location based. It's a one-man show. Sam Rockwell. You've got Kevin Spacey, who does the voice of the emoji AI robot Gertie.
Yes, Gertie.
And there's a very, very playful. It's almost like a Robinson Crusoe, isn't it? It's a take on Robinson Crusoe. You've got this isolated individual working on the moon, mining on the moon. I liked it. I don't know what John was driving at there with it's not original. I'm not sure I've seen the films that perhaps he's alluding to, but I thought it was strikingly original. And Duncan Jones's best film so far. Duncan Jones, I don't think Chris mentioned, is David Bowie's son. And for his first film, it's astonishing, really astonishing debut film, and it came out of nowhere on a very low budget. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I'd say to anybody, please check it out, watch it. It's very, very good, very, very good. So yes, I'm happy to put it on number seven.
Nice one. It was actually my number 7 on my personal list, so I probably would. I had a couple of films left above it, but I probably would have said yes. It featured in my top 7. Apparently, Helium-3 is likely to be on the moon. That's a real fact, and scientists believe that it could potentially replace nuclear energy on Earth because it's not radioactive, but has the potential. So, kind of falls very much in science fact possibilities. For future for us, so and it is a thoroughly entertaining movie that, for a first time director, Duncan Jones did brilliantly. Sam Rockwell's great. I would have said yes as well. So it's got 4 votes. Al, Moon.
Well, I actually started off there thinking, I haven't seen this one, and then as the trailer progressed, and it went, now I remember, and yeah, I did enjoy it, but given that it took me a while to remember that I'd seen it, it probably means I shouldn't be putting it through. But yeah, good film, good concept, visually very appealing, scientifically fits the bill, but I just didn't have it on my list.
No worries. Well, we have our top 7 for this week. I'm going to run them down quickly. We have Interstellar, Robocop, Ex Machina, The Martian, The Andromeda Strain, Minority Report, and Moon. There's our top 7. We have filled out with a mythical 8 spot, so I'm going to go around one by one, just honourable mentions, and if we get 4, I trust everybody being honest with their honourable mentions. If we get 4 nods, it will go into our mythical 8 spot. So Chris nominated that. So John, what's your honourable mentions? Give me a list of movies.
Oh my God, Limitless. Really, really nice on the whole brain chemistry thing. Gattaca. On the DNA idea. There's a film I actually think fits the bill, and it's almost like a precursor to The Martian, called Red Planet, where the science is actually the science and the technology feel really good in it, even to the point where they're terraforming Mars. So they can survive. Source Code would be another one of mine. The last one, another got to save themselves is Gravity. So,
okay, no.
I'll go
Matt,
with
that. You got a list of honourables?
I have, yeah. I have. I didn't put Gravity on there only because I thought that's basically what's happening now, really. I mean, theoretically, it could happen now, so it's not really too far science fictiony for me, although it kind of fits. I also have Gattaca. I think that's definitely a deserving one. If anybody else might have it on there, I like Her, the Spike Jonze movie about the AI computer program falling in love with what's his name, Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson as the voice of the AI. Westworld, as you mentioned earlier, 1973. It's a bit out there, but yeah, I quite like that. Elysium, if anyone's ever seen that, 2013. The South African director who directed District 9. It's quite prevalent. Similar thing about getting humans living in space to there's not enough resources on Earth, overpopulation. So the rich have moved out of their suburbs and gone into space, and they have medical machines that can cure cancer and the dangerous diseases that the general population can't. Matt Damon again, funnily enough. What else have I got down here? Yeah, Limitless I also had, so there's two for Limitless and Gattaca. Blade Runner, a little bit too far future flung to me. It's one of my favorite films of all time, but I just don't think it fits this list. And Life 2017, the alien contagion thing again, specimens brought back from satellites, but this time in an orbital lab that may or may not escape to Earth. Very, very good 2017. So that's mine.
Cool. So I'll run down what I think. I had Arrival. I know it's aliens landing on Earth, but it felt like it was a plausible way that we would deal with aliens landing on Earth, using maths, etc., to try and talk to them. I thought it was a brilliant film. Denis Villeneuve. I had Arrival. I had Children of Men. I've forgotten. It's a Mexican director, isn't it? Who directed
Alfonso
Cuarón.
It was it Cuarón. I didn't want to say the wrong one. There was three of them that had movies out that year, basically a pandemic wipes out the ability for anybody to have children in the future, and 18 years into a pandemic, there's the first pregnant person. But I think it kind of predicts where we could go in our society, just I don't know, the end of democracy and all this sort of stuff, and it felt like maybe it wasn't sci-fi enough, but I had it there. I had Gravity on my list as well, but I suppose I can understand the argument that Matt had that it potentially could happen now, so possibly not completely science fiction. And the other movie that I had, which now has 3 votes, is Gattaca. Human, I don't know, designer babies are definitely a thing in the future, and them deciding on, it's kind of more of a neo-Nazi future, which we haven't gone to yet, but geneticists deciding on what's happening, and designing your cells definitely felt like something, and it's a very good movie. So that's got 3. Al, what did you have left?
Yeah, well, you've segued very nicely into one I had on my list, and I probably haven't seen this film for 20 odd years, but it's The Boys from Brazil. So this is a 1978 film starring Gregory Peck and Laurence Olivier, and basically the premise of this film, it's set in 1970s Paraguay, and it's basically a post-World War II Nazi plot to clone Adolf Hitler and basically create the environment around his childhood to not just be a physical clone of him, but have the emotional journey that Adolf Hitler had to try and reignite the Third Reich again. And I must have watched this around the time that Dolly the Sheep was hot off the press, so not in 90, 96, 97. And so when this film was made, it was very much science fiction. This could never happen. And then suddenly it's like, well, actually, that's not Hitler, but that's probably happened somewhere, whether legally or not. So that film really stuck with me. Other films, again, from my childhood that have stuck with me. So I'm not professing that these are great films, but the films I really enjoy in the genre, and certainly as a child, Demolition Man. I remember watching that as maybe a 7-8-year-old, and the cryogenically freezing, again, sci-fi, not so sci-fi, really stylistically enjoyable film. And it has one of the greatest movie mysteries of all time with the 3 seashells, which I still haven't figured out. But I did love as a child where he kept swearing to get the tickets to solve his own problem on that one. And then
1996 was the future.
Yes, God. And then onto the Paul Verhoeven thread. So I actually had Starship Troopers down. Now, I know this seems incredibly sci-fi, but the reason I had it on my list was for the political satire that's threaded throughout it. When I watched it as a 10-year-old, you didn't get any of that, but all of those little film promotional clips, would you like to know more, is we've all lived observing the Trump administration, and I'm sure if we watched that film back again now, you could think, well, actually this isn't too fictional. We've seen these things in the news. And then Total Recall, the original, loved that as a kid. Would still watch that anytime it came on the TV. And then other ones that Inception, I was surprised that didn't come up. I don't know whether that was just too far out or not, but it's basically just dreams, manipulating dreams. I didn't have it on my list to talk about, but I did expect it to pop up at some point. But yeah, that's about it from my list.
And last, Chris, you haven't mentioned.
Well, I actually had Gravity as well, so that is 4. If you want to put that on.
I didn't mention Gravity. No, I only mentioned it because it wasn't on my list. Sorry.
You said it was on your list,
Sorry,
Matt.
No, I spoke. The only reason I mentioned it is because I wanted to say I didn't put it on my list because I thought it was too blah 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 blah, too real to be. Sorry.
Well,
it's not science fiction, is it? It's not really science fiction. It's borderline similar to Apollo 13. Really, it could have happened a couple of weeks ago. Sandra Bullock, bless her, up in space.
I had Demolition Man as well. So the three shells. One is to scrape, and the other 2 are like for tweezers, and you pull the rest of your shit out with the 2 remaining shells. So there you go. And that's
is that
canon,
confirmed by the
that's
director?
official.
Oh God, how's that an improvement on where we are now? Disappointed.
Arrival was on my list as well, and 2001.
Was that your number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that one didn't come up.
Yeah.
It is tough. It's tough though. There are several that you could quite easily put on. I mean, we just can't talk about. I put 2001 in the same boat as Blade Runner, really, in terms of it's just a little bit too out there, I think. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, we got to whittle it down
comment.
to 5. So I'm going to go around the one that least deserves to be on this list. From the crop in front of you, audio listeners, it's Interstellar, Robocop, Ex Machina, The Martian, The Andromeda Strain, Minority Report, and Moon. Which one is least deserving?
Is this on me? Sorry, Paul.
It is you.
Well, I'll have to pick the one I haven't seen. So I'll take out the Andromeda Strain.
Chris?
Ex Machina.
John?
I'm going to say Moon.
Matt?
I'm going to be a bit controversial here. I'm going to actually pick my own one. I'm going to say Robocop.
Okay.
And unfortunately, for the same reason as Al, I haven't seen it. We both probably sound like we want to, but I'm going to have to pick the Andromeda Strain just because I haven't seen it. So unfortunately, the Andromeda Strain has gone from this list. So I've got, it's just me and you, Al. Of what's left, Al, what is the least deserving?
I will throw you under the bus here, Paul, and go Ex Machina. That was one of yours, wasn't it?
All right. It was. And then me, only because it wasn't initially on my list and I'd forgotten it. I'm going with Matt and I'm picking Robocop, which means the outlying vote is John. So John, you must choose between Ex Machina and Robocop to go off this week's list.
I'm of those two. I'm going to go with RoboCop.
Okay,
So
RoboCop has gone. So our top 5 currently in no order are Interstellar, Ex Machina, The Martian, Minority Report, and Moon. Al and Chris voted Ex Machina. Am I right there?
Yeah.
So Matt, of the 5 there, which one is the 5th best movie?
Moon.
I'm going to be honest to my list, and I had Interstellar lowest, which doesn't help because it's 2 votes for Ex Machina and 2 votes for Moon. So Moon goes at 5 on this week's list.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. So John, of the 4 left, what goes at 4?
I'm I'm going to say Ex Machina.
Okay. And who have I got left? Have I got anybody left? Who hasn't voted? Matt.
Sorry, what are the votes?
Of those 4. So Interstellar, Ex Machina, The Martian, The Minority Report. Ex Machina is going to go at 4. I was just getting your honest opinion of what is the 4th best movie there.
Oh, what? So it's already been voted out?
It's got 3 votes, so it's going to be 4th. But I was just asking you what was your 4th.
I would have. Yeah, I'd have put Minority Report before that.
Okay. So Minority Report would have been your vote. So, Al, of the so Ex Machina is at 4. Al, of the 3 left, The Martian, Minority Report, and Interstellar. What's number
3rd place
3
out.
for you?
3. Yeah, I'll put Minority Report at number 3.
Minority Report. Chris?
Minority Report.
And John?
I think Minority Report, because its futurism is very, very, very local.
Cool. So Minority Report is our number 3. So we've got our top 2. It's The Martian and Interstellar. Going for your number 1s, what is the best sci-fact film? Al?
I'm going to stick to my guns here and go Interstellar.
Chris?
Interstellar.
John?
I'm going to go... I'm actually going to go with The Martian.
Matt? You know what I'm picking, so you're deciding essentially.
I do. But this is a decision that I was looking at now. I'm thinking the better film or the more science fact. You see, because the better film is Interstellar, but The Martian is more science fact. So
Completely agree with you,
Matt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Interstellar because it's all about enjoying the movies for me. So Interstellar.
Okie doke. And I would have voted The Martian as Matt knew. So that is our 5 on film this week. Counting down from number 5. Number 5 is Moon. Number 4 is Ex Machina. Number 3, Minority Report. Number 2 is The Martian. And our number 1 for science fact movie is Interstellar.
Play the sting!
And that wraps up
There
this
we go.
week's
Good
list.
list.
Nice one. Nice one.
Good list.
Thank you very much for everybody joining us. Signing off. Al, thank you for picking the list. Anything you want to say to sign off?
No, just thank you again for having me. Really enjoyed that. Some great finds as well that have been suggested in there. So yeah, good couple of hours well spent on a Friday evening.
Nice one. Nice one. Chris, I know we didn't mention 2001.
Is it really Friday?
Dave?
Matt, signing
He's
off.
crackers, isn't he? He's crackers. Do you know what? I forgot to mention Sunshine, Danny Boyle, great movie. A little bit out there because they're going to the moon to drop an atomic bomb, neutron bomb, a million megaton neutron bomb, to do what they need to do without spoiling it. That's a great movie. If you fancy another one, just dropping that in there. And no movies about aliens. I'm a bit sad. Because they're out there. They're just not interested in us. You see, we're too primitive.
Yeah.
We're too lowly. We're like nothing. We're amoebas to them. Chris is an alien. He knows. That's all I have to say.
And,
Sorry, aliens, tin hat. Yeah.
No worries. John, signing off.
Signing off. Yes. If you would like to get in touch with us, feel free to get in touch with us on all the socials at 5 on Film Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, through Gmail. We're also on Twitter. Please come find us. Please come give us ideas for more of these lists. This one we had 3-4 days notice on this, and I think we've managed to pull a decent list out of the bag. On top of that, we're hopefully new year, new content, so we'll try our best with all of that. We are find us on podcasts, Find us on Apple Podcasts and find us on Spotify. Check out your pod scrapers and you will find us there. All that said, please come talk to us, because we're doing this for you as much as we like doing it. So there we go.
Very well said. Very well said. I'll echo all that. And if you are listening to us and you want to see us, John's doing a very nice job of editing, and we're on YouTube as well. So check us out on there. Thank you very much, John. Definitely well done. And yeah, a great list. I hope we've given you some ideas for movies to check out. We're going to be coming at you in the new year, and our next episode is going to be an interesting one because Ollie will be back, and we're going to try and break down the top 5 Star Wars movies. So that won't be controversial at all. Thank you very much, and see you soon. All views expressed in this podcast are that of the individual and do not represent the views of any entity whatsoever which they have been or will be affiliated with in the future.